up on readings again. This next one is really funny. This one is the Golden Garden. And everything is gold in this book, so why not read this? The Zolaris and Professor Bard were playing soccer on the field just outside the museum. Rue had just scored his third goal to level the score, so they had decided that whichever team gained the next goal would win. Ace kicked off to Professor Bard, who ducked past Lottie and Isha, and then did a neat chips kick through to Amali on the burst. Amali sprinted past Rue and did a cartwheel before kicking the ball toward the goal. Zoro came through on the fly and performed an awesome header to get it past Oscar, who was in goal. Professor Bard's team cheered mightily as they were congratulated by the opposition of Rue, Isha, Oscar, and Lottie. "Well done, guys. That last goal was absolutely brilliant," said Isha. "I thought that I had a Molly's cross covered," said Oscar. "I really was expecting Zoro to come flying out of nowhere like that." Zoro barked and wagged his tail, making everyone laugh. "I bet you all are thirsty," said Professor Bard. "Let's go inside and have some lovely colored glasses of water." "Professor Bard, you sure made some great plays today," said Amali. "Thank you, Amali," he replied. "I've always loved my sport. It's so much fun. My legs can't take me quite as quickly as they used to, but now and again I can still get a few good plays in." They all laughed and ran towards the museum. The Zolaris and Professor Bard went inside the museum and up to the professor's office. "Where's Xena?" asked Lottie. "I don't know," replied the professor. "I haven't seen her all day." They drank their glasses of icy cold water when something inside caught Isha's eye. She went to the window and stared long and hard with her super bionic vision. Far away in the distance, she saw something sparkling amongst the trees in the forest on the other side of the field. Professor Bard walked in the forest and looked outside. "What is it, Isha?" he asked. "I can see something shiny in the trees," replied Isha. "I don't know what it is, but it looks almost golden," she added. The rest of the Zolaris joined them at the window, but none of them could spot what Isha was seeing. The Zolaris went back to finishing off their drinks, while Professor Bard tried to phone Xena. However, there was no response and it went straight to voicemail. "How strange. Xena's not answering her phone," said Professor Bard. "That's most unusual." "Look!" exclaimed Lottie. Now I could see what Isha was talking about. There are golden flakes popping up all over the forest. "What do you think they are, Professor?" questioned Ace. He said in deep thought. "It can't be fireflies because they only come out at nighttime. It seemed rather strange that they're only in trees, however," he said. "We had better go and check it out," said Ace. "Do you want to come with us, Professor?" The professor saw the excitement on everyone's faces and he suddenly had a change of heart. "Wait for me," he yelled. "It's been a while since I had an adventure. I can't believe that there is one happening right outside of my office. Let's go." Professor Bard rushed over to his hidden cabinet of gadgets. He unlocked it and fumbled around inside the cupboard, pulling out a large gray sack. The Zolaris didn't know what was inside, but it looked extremely heavy. The professor heaved the sack over his shoulder and put on a helmet, which is similar to a miner's hat, with a light on the front of it. "Off we go," he said to the Zolaris with a twinkle in his eye. "We have a mystery to solve. It should only take us about 10 minutes to walk, so there is no need to go to museum van," Ace said. Just then, a beam of golden light flashed across the forest, and there were now many more trees covered by the sparkly gold. "What was that?" exclaimed Lottie. "I don't know," replied Ace, "but whatever it was, it's serious." "Zolaros," Professor Bard said sternly from the museum window, "you are going to have to go to it, not me. If there's something sinister occurring in Bow City, I need to be here so that I can assist you better," he added. The professor handed the large gray sack to Ace. "You are going to need this." Ace threw the heavy sack over his shoulder. "You also need to try and find Xena, too. I have a bad feeling that she is somehow caught up in the mystery," said the professor. When the Zolaris ventured outside the museum, they instantly felt a lack of oxygen. Whoa, Lottie gasped. I can barely breathe out there. Here. That has to be done with the mystery, said Rue. If their leaves are being covered in something, then they're probably not able to give the usual oxygen. The Zolaris walked across the field in the direction of the forest. By the time they reached the edge, everyone is gasping for breath. It was as if someone or something had removed all the oxygen from Bow City. The Zolaris soon discovered that every single leaf, not on every single tree, had been turned to gold. Not only that, there were gold statues of cats and dogs that looked very much like people's pets. A slight gust of wind blew, and the golden leaves of the trees rattled together. A clinging and clanging noise resounded throughout the forest as the golden leaves hit one another. The sound of a woman singing came from deep within the forest. She sang away merrily and sounded extremely happy. "Who's that singing?" gasped Lottie. "I don't know," said Isha, "but that voice does sound familiar. The singing stopped and a brief argument between two people could be heard. "No, Countess!" screamed one of the voices in a panic. There was a brief silence followed by more singing. The Zolaris instantly recognized the panic scream as Zena's and sprinted in the direction from where it had come. They hurriedly made their way through a maze of golden leaves and arrived at the partial clearing in the forest. There before them stood Countess Lucille, a golden statue that looked exactly like Zena holding her laptop. The Countess held what appeared to be some type of giant water pistol with a large tank of liquid gold attached to it. "Countess Lucille," Amalia yelled, "what have you done to Zena?" "Oh, I've immortalized her in gold," the Countess responded. "I think she looks marvelous." "What about all the trees? Don't you know that if you cover them with gold, then all of our oxygen will be gone?" panted Ace. For some reason, Countess Lucille could breathe without any difficulty. "I'm sorry that you children don't like my golden garden, but it's the best thing I've ever made," replied the Countess, and with that said, she walked through the forest and disappeared out of sight. The sound of the Countess's voice echoed throughout the forest. She laughed and sang, but the Zolaris had no idea where she went. The Zolaris were totally distraught with what had happened to Zena. "What are we going to do?" cried Lottie as the Zolaris ran to Zena's statue. They examined it carefully and tried to remove the gold, however it's hard as a rock. "Wait, I just heard Zena's laptop beep," said Ace. "I think it may still be powered on underneath all the gold." "Excellent. I'll try to connect to it using the medallion on my watch," exclaimed LaRue. "Perhaps we can find a clue on the laptop. I'm guessing that Zena must have known something was up and came out to investigate," said Isha. "I just wish she had told us first." "Got it," cheered Rue. "I connected with Zena's laptop and I could see that the last thing she looked at was a reference to a disused old mine called Iggy's Nugget." "That must be something to do with it," exclaimed Lottie. "The mine is named after Countess Lucille's pet iguana." Ace touched one of the leaves. "It looks like Countess Lucille was using that giant water pistol to shoot gold. That must be what she did to Zena. If we don't stop her, every plant in Bow City will be gone. We need to head to the mine to try to find the clues." The Zolaris gathered around in a circle and chanted, "Four corners of the earth, moon and sun, unite together and become as one. And it's off to Iggy's Nugget we go!" The Zolaris found themselves at the entrance to Iggy's Nugget gold mine. It looked deserted and there was a train track beside them with 3 connecting minecarts lined up. "Look, Countess Lucille's definitely been here," exclaimed Isha. "I can see fresh drops of gold on the ground. I think she must be refilling her gold shooter from here," said Ace. Ace placed Professor Bard's sack on the ground and untied the knot. The Zolaris watched on as Ace pulled out a few metal tools and a blowtorch. There were also some minor helmets which Ace handed out to the others. "No wonder it was so heavy," giggled Lottie. "I'm surprised that there isn't a bowl of spaghetti in there too," she added. It's incredible how Professor Bard must have known that we were going to need to go into a gold mine, said Rue. This is going to be fun, cheered Oscar as he and Isha hopped into the first track of the trek. Whee! Screamed Lottie as the carts gathered speed. They went around sharp bends and down steep dips. Isha saw that up ahead the track split into 3 different tunnels. She yanked the brake lever and the carts came to a screeching halt. There are 3 tunnels to choose from, said Isha. The Zaleros all climbed out of their carts and looked at the tunnels. How do we know which one to choose? Asked Molly to the others. Isha, can you see anything here with your super bionic vision? Asked Ace. She peered inside. It's just too dark. It's just too dark, she replied. Zoro picked up the scent of something and walked straight towards the tunnel on the right. He barked at the Zaleros. This must be the way, yelled Ace. Zoro has never been wrong yet, he added. The Zaleros climbed back to their carts and continued through the mine, down to the right-hand tunnel. Isha could see up ahead a section of the tunnel was boarded up and blocked. "Aw, nah," she cried. "The tunnel is blocked up ahead." "Hit the brakes! Hold on, everyone," yelled Ace. Oscar and Isha tried with all their might to stop the carts, but they just couldn't in time. BAM! Bits and pieces of broken wood went flying everywhere. The carts crashed straight through the block section of the tunnel and came to a sudden halt. Lucky everyone was okay, and the Zaleros dusted themselves off as they got out of the carts. "Listen, I can hear the sound of a machine coming from over that rock ledge," said Ace. The Zaleros quietly crept up to the rock ledge and peered over. "There is the Countess," whispered Molly to the others. The Zaleros watched as golden nuggets shoveled along a conveyor belt and into a large machine in the middle of the mine. The Countess stood at the other end and waited with their gold-shooting water pistols tank lid open. The machine was melting the nuggets and turning them to liquid gold right before everyone's eyes. Iggy, who was wearing a special modified miner's hat, was helping the Countess. "Let's sneak up and try to surprise them," said Ace. As the Zaleros made their way round to the other side, Isha slipped on a loose rock and fell through a hole in the ground. She screamed as she fell, which alerted Countess Lucille to the fact that the Zaleros were there. "Is that you, Zaleros? Didn't one of you find my booby trap?" she cackled as her voice echoed through the mine. Ace and Oscar reached down to try to help Isha out of the hole in the ground and didn't notice that the Countess had once again disappeared. "Ouch!" screamed Isha from the hole in the ground. "I twisted my ankle and it really hurts. I don't think I'll be able to walk." "Don't worry, Isha," replied Oscar. "We'll solve it." He reached into his backpack and pulled out a rope. Oscar tied it to a nearby rock and sailed down the hole to rescue Isha. "The Countess has disappeared, and I'm sure she has returned to Bow City to return the rest of the forest into gold," said Molly as they all watched Oscar pull Isha out of the hole. "We need to get back to Bow City before the Countess can do any more damage," exclaimed Ace. The Zaleros gathered around in a circle. 4 points of the earth, moon and sun, unite together and become as one. And it's back to the Bow City forest we go. Only they didn't go back to Bow City at all. "Giggling gumballs," exclaimed Lottie. "We're still here." "Let's try again," said Ace a little frustrated. 4 points of the earth, moon and sun, unite together and become as one. It's back to the Bow City forest we go. For some reason, the Zaleros were able to teleport back to the forest. "What is going on?" asked Molly. "Why are we stuck here in this mine?" Rue looked at his watch and saw that it wasn't working. "I think that all the gold in this mine must be interfering with our medallions and blocking us from returning to Bow City," he said. "We need to get out of this mine so that our medallions can work." "I can barely walk," sobbed Isha. "There's no way I will be able to make it back up the mine shaft." "Unfortunately, the pathways are too small for Zoro to grow in order for us to ride him," said Rue. "Wait, can you guys hear the sound of water gushing?" asked Ace excitedly. "There must be a river inside the mine and we can go down it to get out. Zoro, can you direct us to the river?" Zoro barked and took off down a dark passageway. The Zolaris followed as quickly as they could, with Isha being supported between Oscar and Amali's shoulders. Some sections of the tunnel were so narrow that they struggled to squeeze through. The Zolaris heard the sound of rushing water getting closer and closer, and then they heard Zoro bark excitedly. "Great work, Zoro!" Ace cheered as they reached the river. "If we follow us to the end, it will eventually lead us inside. Then our medallions will work again, and we'll be able to teleport back to the forest and stop the Countess." The problem is that the Zolaris were faced with how to get Isha out of the mine. She wouldn't be able to swim at the other side. They needed to devise another plan. They stood on the embankment of the rushing river and looked around for something to assist them. Over to the side was an old raft made of logs, but it was broken and had pieces missing. "Oscar, do you think that you can repair that raft?" asked Molly. Oscar walked over and inspected the broken raft. "I think so," he replied. "The tools that Professor Bard gave us will be handy, and Lottie will also need some bubble gum to shore up the holes." "I'll get right on it," enthused Lottie. Over the next few minutes, with the help of the rest of the Zolaros, Oscar had the raft looking like new again. "The raft won't be big enough for all of us," said Ace. "Rue and Lottie, you go two at the front to steal with all the paddles. Isha, you sit in the back, and the rest of us will swim in the river and hold on this side of the raft." The Zolaros commenced their journey down the river. They came to some rapids, and Oscar, Amali, and Ace held on tightly to the side of large waves crashed against the raft. They spun uncontrollably in a circle, and Lottie, Rue, and Isha screamed as they held on to one another. "Look up ahead!" yelled Ace as he choked on the water that splashed in his face. "We're going to go on the waterfall!" "Hold on, Zolaros!" As the exit of the mine was fast approached, the Zolaros were confronted by a swarm of bats that must have been disturbed by Ace's yelling. "Look out!" exclaimed Rue as one of the bats landed at the back of Lottie's shirt. "Ah!" screamed Lottie. "Get it off of me!" Lottie jumped so high in the air that she fell with the raft and into the water. "I'm coming, Lottie!" yelled Molly as she swam after her as fast as she could. Just as she reached Lottie, the two of them went over the waterfall. "Whee!" was heard by the other Zolaros still on the raft as they floated down the river. When Amali and Lottie surfaced to join the rest of the Zolaros, who were now safely on the bank of the river outside the mine. Lottie had giggled so much underwater that she now had a mixture of the hiccups and the burps. "Great work, team!" yelled Ace. "We don't have much time to stop Countess Lucille and save Xena," he said. The Zolaros gathered together on the embankment instead of the circle. 4 points of the earth, moon and sun, unite together and become as one. And it's back to the Bow City Forest we go! When the Zolaros arrived back in the forest, they saw that the place was deserted. There was no sign of movement anywhere. In fact, there were no people around, no children playing, no birds in trees, no breeze, and no Countess Lucille. "I can't breathe," gasped Molly. "There's no oxygen." Just then, the noise of an engine was heard across the field. The Zolaros looked towards the museum and saw what happened to be Professor Bard driving towards them, inside a weird contraption that they had never seen before. As Professor Bard approached, the Zolaros saw that the vehicle he was riding in was producing steam out of the top. "Quick, Zolaros!" yelled the professor from the window. "Get in!" he added. The Zolaros hopped inside the machine. Somehow this bizarre machine was producing enough oxygen for them all to breathe. "Welcome to my oxywagon!" exclaimed Professor Bard. "It's my new invention. It's powered by carbon dioxide and manages to produce oxygen." "Wow! Great going, Professor!" exclaimed Oscar. "Do you know where everyone from Bow City is?" Everywhere seems deserted. When the oxygen got really low, everybody came into the museum's exhibition hall. As we had some extra-large oxygen generators. Even Dr. Weevil and Sorcerer are there. Unfortunately, we have only enough supplies for another 46 minutes, so we're all counting on you. Countess Lucille is behind this," said Rue. "And she even turned Xena into a gold statue. We followed the Countess to Iggy's nugget gold mine and watched her turn golden nuggets into a liquid for the gold-shooting water pistol that she's carrying. Isha also has a badly twisted ankle, so she will need to stay with you, Professor, said Amali. No problems, replied the professor. We'll drive around, helping in search for the Countess. The professor handed the Zolaros a mask each. These masks provide you with the 46 minutes worth of oxygen, which is exactly the same amount as we had left at the museum. You guys keep checking the forest and we'll search in the park. The Zolaros exited the vehicle with their masks on, while Professor Barb and Isha drove on towards the park. The Zolaros re-entered the forest and went to the center where Xena was. They knew that eventually Countess Lucille would show up, and sure enough, within only a few seconds of being there, she did. Zolaros! She shrieked in frustration. Leave me alone to finish my beautiful garden! She exclaimed. Zorla tried to stop the Countess, but in doing so, was zapped by her golden pistol. Zorro! The Zolaros yelled as they watched Zorro turn into a gold statue right before their eyes. Ace was furious. And now it's your turn, Zolaros, the Countess said menacingly. Run! Yelled Ace. The Zolaros all ran in different directions into the forest, but the Countess was hot on their tails. As the Zolaros sprinted through the forest, they could hear the zapping noises of Countess Lucille's machine as it squirted liquid gold. Every time that she missed, she would get more and more frustrated. Get back here, Zolaros! She screamed. The Zolaros had never seen the Countess become this angry. Unbeknownst to the Countess, Rue had hidden inside a hollow log that lay on the ground. He looked out and saw that the Countess walked past. It was only a matter of time before they all sat with the machine, he thought to himself. He crept out of the log and up behind the Countess as he scolded through the forest of the Zolaros. Rue accidentally stepped on a brittle stick just as he was about to grab her machine from under her arms, which alerted the Countess to the fact that she was being followed. She turned and zapped Rue with the machine. No! Yelled Rue. He was now a gold statue just like Xena and Zorro. 3 down, 5 to go, she chuckled. By this stage, the Zolaros had used up half of the oxygen with their masks. They knew that just the 20 minutes life was as they knew it would be changed forever. Ace found Amali and Lottie hiding together behind some trees. We need to stop her and need to do it now, he whispered. Let's use our medallions to call the others, he added. The three of them tried to call Oscar, Rue, and Isha. For some reason, Rue didn't answer. Where are you, Rue? He whispered. Rue, come in. There was no reply. Zolaros, make your way to where Xena is and you will find Amali, Lottie, and I. But do it without being seen, he added. I'm not too far away. I'll be there in a few seconds, replied Oscar. Professor Bard and I will also be in our way, said Isha. As Oscar tiptoed through the forest, he came across the golden statue of Rue. Oh no, he said to the medallion. The Countess has zapped Rue. He kept on walking and eventually made it to where Amali, Lottie, and Ace were hiding. They could see the Countess was not too far away, but they did have a plan. How are they going to stop her? Now that the remaining Zolaros and Professor Bard were together, they decided to hatch a plan. It would be a risky task ahead of them, but with not much time to spare, they really had no choice. Amali and Lottie, are you two the fastest? Do you think you would get the Countess to chase you to the Bow City water fountain? Asked Oscar. That would be easy, they both said at the same time. Excellent. We need you to let her stay close so that she thinks she can get you, continued Oscar. And then we need to fire some gold into the fountain. Sure, but I don't understand why would we want a golden fountain, puzzled Lottie. You'll see when you get here. Here, replied Oscar. We'll meet you at the fountain, back at the fountain, a few minutes then, just get ready to jump away from the fountain where I give you the signal. Oscar, Ace, and Isha headed back to the fountain with Professor Bard and his Oxywagon to prepare the surprise for Countess Lucille, where Amali and Lottie went over to where the Countess is spraying some more water plants. Hey, Countess, you might be able to get some other But there's no way you can catch us, dared Lottie. Really? Let's see about that. The Countess screamed as she took off in hot pursuit of the girls. Molly ducked in and out of the golden trees, making sure to do a few cartwheels so she didn't get too far ahead, while Lottie did some supersonic speed zigzags, which made the Countess become dizzy just watching. Countess Lucia let fly with some golden shots and on them hit an unsuspecting eagle. Meanwhile, Oscar and his helpers were hiding next to the main switch of the fountain, which is now turned off. Oscar has just finished making some modifications to the fountain, which would be perfect for what he needed. Lottie reached the fountain first, closely followed by Molly, who finished her routine with a triple somersault. A few moments later, a very out-of-breath Countess Lucille appeared. "So you thought you could get away from me," said the Countess menacingly. "Well, I've got news for you. You're going to be a perfect addition to what will soon be a golden fountain." The Countess started shooting her golden water pistol wildly at Lottie and Molly, who dodged perfectly all that came at them. What Countess Lucille didn't notice was inside the fountain had now filled up with liquid gold. Oscar gave Lottie and Molly the signal to clear the area, and then he flicked the switch of the fountain to on, which created a massive spray of gold perfectly all for Countess Lucille. Oscar's modifications had worked, and the Countess is now a golden statue. "Oh no, poor Countess Lucille! She's a golden statue now!" "Yippee!" shouted Molly. "Great work, team!" "Okay, I don't wish to ruin the celebration," said Ace, "but we only have a few more minutes of oxygen left. What are we going to do now?" They all looked at each other and no one had any ideas. "I can help," said someone in a slightly menacing voice from behind them. Everyone turned around and they were tremendously surprised to see Sorcero. "That greedy Countess turned my poor Aquila into a statue, and I won't let her get away with it." "How can you help, Sorcero?" asked Lottie. "I have a spell that dissolves gold, but unfortunately I'm missing one key ingredient," replied Sorcero. "What's that?" asked Ace. "It's spaghetti," responded Sorcero. "That's easy. I have a spare plate of it here in my oxy wagon," laughed Professor Bard as he handed it to Sorcero. Sorcerer quickly prepared his potion and then turned to face the forest, chanting, "Gold to dust, spaghetti a must, by the power of Sorcero, with the exception of Lucille, make it bust." The sky went green and lightning bolts shot down, shattering the gold that was covered both city. Xena, Rue, Zora, and Aquila, as well for the animals and plants, were now free from the gold statues. The oxygen had returned to Bow City. Everyone came out from the museum and cheered the Zolaris and Sorcero. Xena, Rue, and Zora also arrived back from the forest, and the rest of the Zolaris embraced them in a big hug. The mayor of the city climbed on the stage and announced, "Well done, Zolaris, for saving us again. Congratulations also to Sorcero. This is the first time you have ever done something nice for Bow City. I hope you continue to do some more good things like this." Sorcerer blushed as he shook the mayor's hat, but he was not used to getting such praise. Poor Countess Lucille was still trapped in her golden statue next to the fountain. There were now 3 pigeons perched on her shoulders, and now it almost looked though her face was extra angry. "What are we going to do about the Countess?" questioned Lottie. "We can't just leave her like this." "Well, unfortunately I've run out of spaghetti for now," said Professor Bard. "But I'll be making some more for dinner. Perhaps you would like to join us, Sorcero?" "That would be fun! I've never tried spaghetti and peppermint chocolate before," said Sorcero, almost laughing. What in the... What in the... Q's mouth is close up.